I did grow up in a household where my parents were pretty socially active. My father was a peace candidate, but he was also a decorated Marine at Iwo Jima. So the contrast of a decorated Marine who got a Purple Heart, wrote a book on what it's like to be in the trenches with tank warfare, and then being a peace candidate and starting a moratorium in Massachusetts was contrast. I always lived in contrast. I loved my family, but they were very cerebral people, and I was a much more integrated person. So I always felt that relationships mattered a lot to me, whereas with my parents, it was more about what you know. So I would say that the dominant part of who I am, I really understand relationships, how to cultivate them, but I also know how to curate interactions so that you actually can influence and do things. I was a first semester sophomore, so I must have been around 19 years old. And I was offered an opportunity. Now, this is back in 1970. It was actually 1970. And I was offered an opportunity to be one of 8 people to travel on a Kankakee kind of silver bus with 8 students to travel and examine. You're going to laugh. I mean, this sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not making this up. I actually got credit and paid to travel across the country and then go into Cuernavaca, Mexico, study communal living. My parents were very much against it. And I said, I know why I'm going. I want to go. This matters to me. And you can do what you want, but I'm going. That was a moment for me where I finally said, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. And you got to accept me. And I will accept whatever that means in terms of what you think of me. And I did it. At Babson, I'm really here to build an influencer through the Lewis Institute, the Babson Social Innovation Lab, around how students, faculty, even alumni can embed or start looking at social value in all that they're doing, whether it's for-profit or not-for-profit. What does it look like? How do you live into your personal commitments to be able to create economic, social, and environmental value? Because kids come all the time and they say, I know I'm at Babson and I'm here to learn business skills, but just making money doesn't work for me. I need to be able to do something else. And so I help them with the something else. I bring in executives who have stories that are very compelling. So in the new MBA class that I created last fall, it was all about the stories. We fashioned it after inside the actor studio called Inside the C-Suite. And what we did is we set up the conversation to say, why does being for social value matter? And then we brought in pretty straight executives from Ford and Ernst & Young and Verizon and Sodexo, a company in Afghanistan, Babson, and another social company, Bidding for Good. They told their story for an hour, and then the class was really dissecting that to say, well, what do you think it was about the person that allowed them to do this? What do you think it was about the context? What do you think it is about the time? So what I was trying to do was disaggregate what companies were doing in terms of creating social value and make it digestible for them so that wherever they are, if they're in a company now, or they're going to start a company, or they're going to go into a company, they have a voice that they can activate so that they can actually start to bring their purpose into work as well as their talents as a business manager. And most of them were really struggling with, they're not CSR, they're not corporate social responsibility people, they're not sustainability people. They're here at Babson. A lot of them are in finance, a lot of them in marketing, a lot of them are in IT. They have come through a business school. They learned functions, in a very siloed way. First couple of conversations, I really thought I should have renamed the course Waterboarding for MBAs. They were skeptical. I don't understand how a company can both make money and show social value. So once we got through the personal dilemmas that they face as being trained in a very siloed way, They opened up. In fact, from the first class to the last class, the energy really shifted. And particularly business students, they get to a point where no one's ever asked them what matters to them, and then start to design a plan so that they can be successful. So we teach them what they need to know. We teach them the stuff they need to have. But at the end of the day, these MBAs love the class because no one had ever said, why would this stuff matter to you? And gee, oh, by the way, you can actually start doing something around that now. You don't have to wait till you retire and go run something else or go sit on a not-for-profit board to make yourself feel better. Feel better now by living into the commitments you want to make. I think we know the shortcomings of a siloed function business. So I would suggest that students really put on a lens that they're not necessarily given. At Babson, they're given it more than others, but they need to look at a holistic lens of, first of all, why does what you're doing matter to you? And because I can tell you from most of the millennials I talk to, they really are driven by purpose and wanting to do something greater than making money. I would make sure that in every class, if it's not brought up, that they try to be a little bit of a positive disruptor and ask questions that aren't being asked. I always feel that, having been a long-time community organizer, that trying to say what I feel doesn't work. Asking questions that express how I feel open-endedly to people actually get them to think themselves. And so the more that I can help arm students with a set of questions that aren't being asked, that you're not thinking about, or their instructors aren't thinking about, is just really helpful towards moving towards bringing closer in the reason you're doing what you're doing at business school and being able to live into the commitments you want to live into every day and not waiting. So, asking questions around the impact on everybody. Just, if you make a decision, think about all the people it impacts, and then think about the people you're not thinking about that it impacts, and think about what that might look like or what you could do about it. I think that what Len Schlesinger, our president, has really done that's been phenomenal at Babson, he's really put at the core what's called entrepreneurial thinking and acting. And basically all that is in an increasingly unknowable, unpredictable world, how are you going to act if you can't really extrapolate from the past? It's not going to be that helpful for moving in the future. And I think all of us are living in that space. One thing I think of in anything is just take smart action, which is really simple. Look at who you are, what you know, who you know, and look at your relationship to risk, and start moving slowly towards creating your future instead of reacting to the future. We're all living in a time where, because it's so ambiguous, being able to see yourself and everybody as sort of an entrepreneur looking to create something is not just for the few. I think it's for all of us.